Hello everybody, welcome to Minnesota Sports HQ. I'm Ben, and hope you're all doing well. Certainly I'm doing well. It's been a long break from YouTube, about 9 months, but that's okay. Got some time now with the quarantine, so I'm going to film something for you. Today we're going to be looking at the 2019 seasons for all the Minnesota sports teams. But first, I had some things happen this year too. I was able to go to the Final Four, which was really cool. It was in Minneapolis. I went to the Minnesota United FC playoff game, and I also got to go to the Minnesota Twins playoff games. That was really cool, but for more on that, let's get straight into it. So let's get started on our 2019 review for Minnesota sports. We'll start off with the Minnesota Twins. They started playing in the spring and proceeded to hit 307 home runs. No big deal, broke the record there. Beat the Yankees by 1, finally. But what we didn't beat the Yankees in was the playoffs when it mattered. So, you hate to see it, but it's just deja vu since 2000, and we haven't won a playoff game since 2005, so I expect us to win the Central this year, but other than that, last season was good. Lots of fun to watch. And now moving on to Minnesota United FC. I didn't really have high hopes for them at the beginning of last season. I knew they'd be better, thought we'd be pushing for the last playoff spot, but we actually killed it. Allianz Field became a fortress where we couldn't be stopped at home. And then, our defense was incredible. We didn't score as many goals, mainly because Angelo Rodriguez was a brick and had no first touch. But the wingers did well, and Darwin Quintero did okay. So it was just enough to win. And Toy, Dotson, and Gasper really contributed in their rookie seasons. So that was amazing to see as well. And then, of course, Roman Metner. Gotta love him. He's been doing the business since we got him. Same with Iko Para. He was amazing. Vito Manone solidified our defense, and he was just incredible. We have Tyler Miller now, who actually was the only keeper to beat Vito Manone for goals against average, but that's because he had a better team, and they had so much more possession all the time. But that's Minnesota United. I went to the playoff game. We lost. Should have won. I believe we were the 3 seed in the West. So we had a home playoff game, which was awesome. The atmosphere was amazing. We unfortunately lost to the LA Galaxy because, once again, Angelo Rodriguez can't shoot. We did score. Jan Gregus scored a great goal, but it was a little too late. We lost 2-1, so that was a bit unfortunate. But that was Minnesota United's season. I was really happy with it, and more in 2020 after we've had 2 games and 2 wins. So you love to see that for sure. You can obviously tell I am a big soccer guy. But I also do love all the other sports, so let's start in giving them some love. Let's talk about the Vikings 2019 season. I would say it was off and on. This isn't really the team that's going to win 6 games in a row. They're going to more, go 4-2 every 6 games. And they kind of proved that. If we had beaten the Bears one time and the Packers one time, we should have beaten the Chiefs. We shouldn't have lost to them. You take those 3 losses out, we're 13-3. We have a home playoff game. We only have to win 3 playoff games to win the Super Bowl. But instead, we got the wild card, beat the Saints, which was absolutely incredible. Our offense looked a lot better this year. Still some O-line issues, but those can be fixed up in free agency or the draft, of course. On the defense, everything was solid except, the cornerbacks. I think Anthony Barr is still being overpaid. We got rid of Everson Griffin. That was probably the right call. Stephen Weatherly is a big loss for us on the defensive line, but we did lose 3 starting cornerbacks, so it's going to be up to Mike Hughes if he's healthy, Chris Boyd, Holden Hill, and whoever we draft in the first round this year. Because let's be honest, one of our picks is going to be a cornerback, because we need one. So, I think the less said about that, the better. So I really liked our playoff win against New Orleans. That was a really good game. Obviously, we beat them again in the playoffs for Drew Brees, but hey, what can you say? You just got to win the playoff games. Going up against the 49ers on 5 days rest is never a good recipe, especially with the rushing attack they had. So that was a little tough. I mean, they scored early, and we did come back to tie the game. Thanks, Stephon Diggs. Now you're gone, but that's okay. We're not really that kind of a team that needs more than one wide receiver anyway, because we rely so heavy on the run. So, with that being said, we could have taken the lead into halftime of that game, and it could have been a different story, but whenever we were trying to come back in the second half, they just kept running it down our throats, and every time it looked like we were about to come back in it, momentum killer, boom, you're done. So, that's the Vikings. I don't know if I'm looking forward to 2020. We re-signed Kirk. I'm not sure if we're tanking or not. Well, we're not tanking, but I'm not sure if we're trying to rebuild a little bit after we lost a majority of our defense. Where'd they go? Cincinnati and Cleveland? Fair enough. Hits of the NFL. But moving on to Minnesota Golden Gophers football. What a season. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to the Outback Bowl, which was one of the best games I've ever seen. We had a lot of those this year. The Penn State game was incredible. We started 9-0 after 3 wins over really bad teams that were not convincing at all. We beat South Dakota State 14-7. We beat Fresno State in overtime because of a clutch catch by Chris Ottman-Bell. And then, of course, game-sealing interception by Antoine Winfield. And then we barely beat Georgia State after, being down for most of the fourth quarter. So after we got those games, went into Big Ten play 3-0, we just kept winning. The win against Penn State was just incredible. That was top 10 game I've ever seen in college football, not just Gophers. The Wisconsin game was tough, but we didn't have our best offensive lineman. And after we scored the first touchdown, it really wasn't it. Iowa going into Kinnick Stadium is never fun. It's a trap game every time you're there. So that was a loss there. But we still managed to get a really good bowl game against a top 10 team, I think, in Auburn, talent-wise. And we took them to the cleaners. I think we had like 450 offensive yards, and they had about 250. One of their touchdowns was a kickoff return for a touchdown. So, I mean, you don't have that. We dominated them, honestly. In the fourth quarter, we got the ball with 7 minutes left, up 7, and we literally ran the clock out from 7 minutes. So that was a very impressive drive. Showed everybody what we're about. The analysts, I heard, were very bad in that game, SEC heavy. But that's not a surprise. SEC are the traditional powerhouses. Big Ten still has some work to do, but the Gophers, if they get a good recruiting class over the next couple years, I'm just hoping they're top 25 for the next couple years, and then we can go to that next level of challenging Ohio State for the Big Ten title every year. But right now, we're not quite there, especially after losing Kyler Johnson, Kamal Martin, Carter Coughlin. Rodney Smith was okay. I mean, Mo Ibrahim is going to be fine carrying the backfield with Bryce Williams and Kai Thomas, but losing our 2 senior running backs. Tanner Morgan still got a couple good years left. Bateman and Ottman-Bell are going to be exciting next year, that's for sure. And now moving on to some hockey, we're going to be starting off with the Minnesota Wild. The Wild had one of the craziest seasons I think I've ever seen. Starting off not winning any of their first 9 or 10 games, and then picking it up around mid-season near the All-Star break. And then when they were just about to be in playoff contention, they fired their coach, Bruce Boudreau. So now they have an interim coach, and with 10 games remaining, they are 1 or 2 points out of the wild card. So as things stand, they're not in the playoffs currently. If the NHL decides to not play the rest of the games, they would not be in a playoff spot. But if they finished out the games, the Wild would probably have a chance to make the playoffs. Wouldn't go anywhere while we're there, because, I don't think we'll ever win a Stanley Cup with Zach Parise and Ryan Suter, but a playoff spot would be great, to be honest. but they really picked it up towards the end of the season. And Gopher basketball, after losing Amir Coffey and Jordan Murphy to the NBA, Marcus Carr finally got to play after sitting out for a year. I really wish he would have played that season where we were the 5 seed in the tournament. I really wish he would have been eligible right away to honestly probably bring us up to being a 3 seed, to be honest. And then we wouldn't have had to play Michigan State, our bogey team. So we had Marcus Carr and Daniel Oturu really carrying the load this year. Gabe Kelcher fell off a cliff. To be honest, Alihan Demir was just awful. Willis was okay, but he was very streaky, which isn't the greatest in college basketball. But Marcus Carr and Daniel Oturu carried us to, even being close to making a tournament run. We were playing the first day in the Big Ten tournament, which is never really a good sign, but now both of them have just declared for the draft. So it's good that we're getting guys headed to the NBA. Daniel Oturu will probably be picked, but Marcus Carr probably won't be, and he'll probably come back to the University of Minnesota for another year. But that's college basketball. I miss March Madness so much. We'd be close to the Elite Eight right now, Final Four time. So I got to go last year, but really missing out on it this year. College hockey, 5 good teams in the state of Minnesota, the state of hockey. Minnesota State Mankato was number 2 in the country. Duluth was number 4 in the country, trying to make another title run. Bemidji State was 11 out of the WCHA, so that was pretty surprising. Minnesota was 18, and then St. Cloud State really had a down year this year. But that's what happens when you have 4 guys leave for the NHL. So they had some votes to be ranked, but I don't think they would have made the tournament unless they did really well in the NCHC tournament, which we didn't get to see that. We didn't get to see the Frozen Four either. We're not going to get to see that. So just disappointing all around for sports this time of year. But moving on to the Timberwolves. I was going to say the Lynx, but that would just be laughable matter. Although, the Wolves haven't looked any better, to be honest. We drafted Jarrett Culver out of Texas Tech this year with our first-round pick. He's been okay, but he was more a pick for a couple years down the line. We're still looking for a power forward. We did just trade Andrew Wiggins, though, for D'Angelo Russell. I like the move, so now we're set at point guard, Okogie at shooting guard. I like Culver to start at the 3. We are still looking for that power forward, though, so if we can draft Obi Toppin this year, that would be incredible. His Cat's at the center, so that would be a solid lineup. I wouldn't be mad about that at all. That's a pretty good team with some good guys on the bench, but they were just dreadful this year. After beating the Nets in a really good game at the beginning of the year, beating Kyrie in his first game, Cat has been injured a lot, and it's just been awful, to be honest. And now, last but not least, the team I work for, the Minnesota Wind Chill. For those of you that don't know, I'm a meteorologist. I'm about to graduate, actually, with my degree. In the summers, I do play-by-play for the Minnesota Wind Chill. So, they were actually going to play a game in Winnipeg in April, but that won't be happening. They finished 6-6 last year, a couple points away on a lot of games, and although we did finish ahead in the standings of our rivals, Madison Radical. So that was nice to see. I really enjoy calling their games. They're a lot of fun, so if you haven't heard of them, I'll make sure to put their link in the description so you guys can give them a follow on Instagram. Great team. They honestly have a sick logo, as you can tell. And Windchill, what more describes Minnesota? And also, lastly, I just heard of a new Minnesota sports team, the Minnesota Freeze. They're in the U.S. Aussie Rules Football League. So, still learning about them. I've watched Aussie League football before on late night Fox Sports. So I know what's going on there, but don't know if they have any games or what they're planning on doing, but could be interesting. But But yeah, that's been the 2019 season review by yours truly. Hopefully just getting the ball rolling on some more YouTube videos. I'll probably do some 2020 season previews soon. And other than that, I'm going to be working on some more graphics, like some of the ones you guys have been seeing. And maybe we'll get this going in the near future. Just bought a tripod, so if I can get a camera, that'd be awesome. But signing off for now. Have a great day, everybody.